Inc. NC, baby.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Tuesday, and that means it's time for the Wrestling Inc. NXT after show. And have we got a show for you? Dragunov and Wes Lee went to war. Carmelo Hayes talked it up with a Judgment Day member, and we have a new NXT champion in Becky Lynch. But before we get into all of that, allow me to introduce the crew. I'm Jack Farmer, but I'm being joined by NYC Demon Diva and Glenn. Glenn, how are you, old pal? You're wearing a hat today. You mix it up with the hat and the hair.
I got to get a haircut, man. It's like, look at this. It's getting out of control. We can't all have the perfect coiffed do that you do, Jack.
Well, it's a Lego piece. It just snaps right on.
See, that's the key. I'm doing well, man. Becky Lynch is the NXT Women's Champion. 7 years overdue.
Interesting. Hot, spicy take. But speaking of spicy, that makes me think of Puerto Rico, and that makes me think of Issa. Issa, you're missing your cat ears.
Oh my God, my cat ears. RIP to my cat ears. I promise I will get a replacement soon, but they did give up on me today after many years of hard work. So F in the chat for the cat ears. Hopefully we'll get some back soon.
So everyone throw out a RIP to the cat ears. Hopefully we'll see some new ones soon, but I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Tune in, but leave a rest in peace to the cat ears in the chat. We've got a whole bunch of news to discuss that I have been waiting all day to chat with you guys about. First and foremost, let's talk about both pieces of news. Well, there's a lot of news. Anyway, let's just talk about the big one. Endeavor, WWE, TKO, UFC all together. This is monumental. Glenn, this is the first WWE show that we've ever seen without a McMahon at the tippy top of the company.
Yes. And NXT still felt like NXT. I doubt Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan and Dana White and even Vince McMahon really care much about what's going on in NXT. Someone was probably like, yeah, Becky's there tonight. And Vince was like, what? And they were just like, never mind. You don't need to know the details. I think that's part of the fun of NXT is that it really feels like it flies under the radar, of regular WWE booking.
Issa, how much would you pay to see Ari Emanuel and Vince McMahon just look at pictures of characters from NXT and try to guess their names?
Oh my God, I actually love that. I would like to see it. I would like to see key in the meme. I would like to see it. That would be fun.
Did this feel different to you, or did it feel business as usual this week?
It felt very business as usual. It would have probably been different if they didn't. I want to thank everybody in the chat for supporting the cat ears purpose here. It's been a tough day for me. I would have said if they would have not announced Becky Lynch, maybe that would have felt different. But it felt business as usual. NXT continue. They advance. I have fun. Thank you, Tommy. I have fun watching NXT tonight. So to me, it felt business as usual. Everything that went on tonight felt like a continuation from what we saw last week. So I didn't see a lot of different there. But I don't know that if I'm TKO, I don't know that NXT is my top priority at the moment. But at the same time, you just crown a brand new women's champion. That has to tell you something, right? Like if this is the first show, there is a bookmark that will go down. Remember, I'm with Glenn here. I think this is 7 years overdue.
Yeah.
Becky Lynch, and we'll get into it. Becky Lynch is my favorite out of the 4 horsewomen. And this is the one thing that I felt like drove me crazy, that she never accomplished what she did tonight. So I'm glad that we right that wrong. But to do it on such a historic day, because I do think that people that might not be into WWE pay more attention to WWE today after they saw this merger take over the news everywhere, because we saw it. We cover wrestling, right? So of course it's going to come across our timeline, but this was coming across people's timelines that might not necessarily watch wrestling. I had a few people text me that are not into wrestling going, I didn't know this was happening. So I know some eyes are in the product today that might have not been there before. And if this is how you're going to kick off, it's a great way to start whatever it is that we're in for.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Tiffany Stratton debuts on SmackDown Friday night.
That is a good point. You know, I think this is really smart. We'll talk about the actual show. But just in general, I think this makes so much sense and it's such a smart move from a business perspective because Becky Lynch is going to pop a number. Becky winning is going to get everyone talking. And that happening day one of the merger is going to make the acquisition look like a very good move. And so it makes sense. It makes all the business sense in the world. We'll talk about whether or not Jack liked the outcome, but I get.
And you know, let's talk about that video that Dana White and UFC were posting today about TKO. All the footage, all the big crowds, it was all WrestleMania, WWE. There were like 3 shots of MMA fighters in there.
Right. That's what the MMA fighters are probably like, look, man, if I'm not in a fight, I'm not promoting anything.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that was crazy. But no, I mean, okay, so Vince McMahon now has a little bit more bandwidth now that he doesn't have to deal with those, you know, pesky numbers and day-to-day operations of running a company anymore. You know, he doesn't have to sign tax forms and whatnot. So I think Friday, Tiffany Stratton opens SmackDown and says that, you know, her daddy thought she was wasting away in NXT. And then people are like, oh, your father? And they're like, no, my daddy. And then she walks up and kisses Vince McMahon.
There's a difference between fathers and daddies. And
it would be amazing. It would be an amazing SmackDown storyline. It would be so good. And I bet you when they decided that Tiffany Stratton was coming to the main roster is the day they decided not to renew Lacey Evans' contract.
I would love to see a Tiffany Stratton, Vince McMahon setup. I think that just writes itself. It's perfect. It works great. So I would love to see that. I don't want to talk too much about Tiffany though. We're going to talk about Tiffany a whole bunch here at the end.
It's always Tiffy time.
Well,
on the Wrestling Inc. podcast.
Steven agrees. He says with the super chat, Tiffany Stratton is the next Charlotte Flair level star. Just to kick things off, again, we'll talk about the match later, but yes or no, both of you. Issa, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think she's up there. I really liked her showing tonight. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was because of Becky, but I did think this was my favorite. Even though it wasn't defeat, this was my favorite Tiffany Stratton match so far. But I do see the reference. I do see the comparisons. I've seen a lot of people bringing her up in the past. Tonight I saw it, and I do think she's probably ready to be in the main roster character-wise. And I used to doubt her in ring. I thought tonight she was great. Again, even though she was in defeat, I thought she came out on top. She looked great. This is the best match that Tiffany has given us so far. And I can't wait to get into it. And we'll get into it, right? We got to wait until the end. Anticipation. But yeah, she's up there for me.
Let me put Tiffany Stratton over even more here. Her character is great because she can do the smug, spoiled princess who gets by on her looks and her status. The fact that she can back that up and actually go in the ring is what makes her the complete package as a WWE superstar. That she can get all that heat of people being like, oh, you're just here, you know, because so-and-so likes you, but then she can actually put on an amazing match.
I have the fun nickname of Beast Mode Barbie for her. And tonight we saw why.
I love it. Mike Martin, not a super chat, but I want to make a comment here. Vince and Trish already did it 20 years ago, Jack.
More reason why they'll do it again.
I was about to say 20 years ago is a lifetime ago. Like,
you can
do it again.
Some of us saw it 20 years ago because we are that old, but there is a new generation that they're just dying to appeal. They are not aware of these things. I know that we love nostalgia, but there is a newer generation of people that don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my God.
And like redoing some storylines to today's generation is not a bad idea. It's not.
There are people that are college graduates that tuned into the VMAs tonight and like, who are these guys with Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
What is in sync?
Why do they have the old backup dancers?
Justin Timberlake posted a reel of them in the elevator, and I'm over here like, nostalgia queen crying like, oh, my NSYNC boys. And like, you're right. There are absolutely some people that have no idea what the hell's going on. And that's why there's some things that you can't. The thing about wrestling is it never stops. It always goes on, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I tell people, I'm like, man, I should have chosen a different sport because wrestling never takes a break. There's no off season in wrestling, but it keeps going and it keeps going. And there's going to be a newer generation that are going to be into it that would tell you, okay, you like Stone Cold, but I don't know what he did because they weren't even alive when Stone Cold was at his peak, right? So you can't redo that. Like the criticism around LA Knight drives me crazy because why wouldn't you copy The Rock? The Rock hasn't been an active wrestler for almost 20 years now. Why not freaking copy one of the most successful stories in WWE history? Like, it's genius if you ask me, right? So, yeah, I think that there is a way to take inspiration from what you did in the past and modernize it. Let's do it again.
I'll take it one step further with The Rock. There's a whole generation of people that don't even know he was a wrestler. They just know him as an actor. So,
thank you, because I have actually had conversations, especially back when I worked corporate America. My God, did I have conversations with people about Dwayne Johnson and where he originally came from. And I was always so mind blown at the fact that like half of my employees never knew that he was a wrestler. And I'm like, how could you? And then I was like, okay, reel it back a little, understand that wrestling is a little more niche now. And Dwayne Johnson isn't. Right? Like people don't know that because it's been that long since The Rock was an active wrestler. It really has been years, guys.
One of the few people to go from wrestling to acting and get bigger physically in acting. Like Rock today looks like he could beat the crap out of original Rock, if I'm being totally honest.
He couldn't beat the crap out of the tribal chief because he's scared of him, but we don't need to get into that right now.
We don't. I want to throw up a super chat from Corey Pride, who thanks for being patient on this one, says, done with AEW, you guys in NXT are my new thing. Corey Pride, welcome to the party. NXT is it's a fun show. People sleep on it, I think, because of the whole rough transition from 2.0, but it is such a fun show, week in and week out.
I mean, Glenn and I have been here covering NXT for, I think, almost 2 years now. I've been here with you, Glenn, and you've been longer than that. So I always tell people, like, don't sleep in NXT 2.0. Now, don't get me wrong, and we'll get into the show. Not everything in this new NXT is for me, but what's for me is freaking working.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about NXT is it's very, like, we're just going to try everything. You're not supposed to like it all. That's kind of the fun, is that they just try stuff, and it makes it really fun. Something that a lot of people are wondering if WWE will try is CM Punk. Nick Khan was asked about CM Punk, and his response was, listen, we only have respect for Phil. We appreciate his run here. We appreciate what he did and tried to do with the UFC. Not many people can actually get in there and do what he did. So when we have respect for Phil, we wish him nothing but the best. Told that to ESPN. Glenn, kind of a non-answer.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that if they think there's a dollar to be made or multiple dollars to be made, you know, if they can profit off this and get more eyeballs on the product, good. But at the same time, you know, it's kind of like saying, like, hey, you know what would make for a really exciting wrestling show? What if we unleash Cocaine Bear backstage? And then all the wrestlers, you know, Cocaine Bear will be in the main event, but before the main event, all the wrestlers are like, gotta watch out for Cocaine Bear. You know?
Yeah. Look, Glenn, you must have been a fan of Lucha Underground because that seems right in the alley of Lucha Underground. And I would have loved to see Cocaine Bear in the ring.
But I'm just saying, but at the same time, someone has to raise their hand and say, like, I think we're opening ourselves to some potential liability if we let a wild bear hopped up on cocaine run around backstage. It's funny I'm saying this about CM Punk because he's straight edge. But no, I'm just saying, like, you can't bring somebody into your environment that's going to create. I mean, have you guys ever look? I mean, maybe you've worked with a toxic employee. Maybe you've been the toxic employee at a past job. Like,
no, I'm just joking.
No, but I'm just saying, like, there comes a point in your life where you just say, like, this is probably a bad idea. You know?
Yeah, I think, and Issa, I want your thoughts on CM Punk. And for the record, I don't think Issa's a toxic employee. It was just funny. As as far as I want your thoughts on the whole CM Punk thing, but I think what I gather from that answer, and obviously I'm just reading into it, Issa, is that probably not going to happen. But if they can get him super cheap and he's willing to do something, I mean, he's not going to say no. I think he's kind of keeping the door open, but he's not exactly inviting him in.
Could you imagine, though, Issa, if they're like, so, Phil, we sent you a condolence card. We think you're on tough times. What do you think about like $10,000 per appearance? And we'll just sort of go appearance to appearance, a la carte,
First of all, I just want to say, Jack, you're not wrong. I am toxic. You're slipping under. I get that I'm the toxic person here on Wrestling Inc. I take pride on that. I own it. But yeah, I don't know. I think that if he had gone into like, oh, we don't want to see CM Punk this and that, then that would have been the headline. And that's not the headline to talk about tonight. And that's the thing. The TKO, WWE, they're not going to let CM Punk take away from how historic today probably was. Like, when I looked at the pictures, the power people in this picture, like just seeing freaking Vince McMahon and Dana White, who I think are two of the most creative freaking bookers that they have ever been, in the same picture with Montez Ford and Bianca. Like, what is happening, right? Like, I could not get enough of seeing what was happening today. I woke up and the first thing I did was go check my stock, because I do have WWE stock and I wanted to see the name change happen because I'm a geek like that.
Yeah.
So I think that you gave the politically correct answer for people to move on from the CM Punk topic and talk about the bigger news story at hand.
Wait a second. With two of the most creative people ever, Vince McMahon, who said, what if we let people pretend to kill each other in the ring? And Dana White said, no.
No, let's let them kill each other.
Actually try and kill each other in the ring.
But that's the thing. So I always been, and I don't know how you guys are, but I always been a big MMA, like specifically UFC fan. So the way that I feel is that if I want to watch two people really mess each other up, I'll go watch UFC. So I watch my wrestling for the story, for the novela, for the character development, right? Because I do watch my UFC on the side to watch people really mess each other up. So I don't know.
Isn't that
that's
what power slap's for?
No, please, Glenn, stop it. Get some help.
Well, it does. I like that you mentioned the stock market thing, because to me, I think that is one of the biggest highlights is WWE is looking for people that they can have stand up with them on a stock market exchange. And
if you have to think about what people have done in the past,
like,
if you have WWE stock, you have to be like me this morning and wake up and go look at your stock just to see the name change and just to see what happened with that, because that I couldn't wait to just see what was gonna happen at 9 a.m.
Oh yeah.
8 a.m. depending on when the transition went through for you.
Well, we got a couple of speaking of money and investment, we got a couple super chats I want to make sure we get to. Kelvin Alexander says Cocaine Bear is booking for AEW. And then he went on to say, sorry, I meant Cocaine Hamster.
Oh my God.
Are you talking about Daniel Bryan and Collision now?
No.
Could you imagine Daniel Bryan at the stock exchange ringing the bell, yelling, burn it all down?
We also
talking
got
about like his vegan meal that he had before.
He's not entirely vegan anymore. My heart was broken. He's eating fish a couple days a week.
Do you don't eat fish, do you? You're legit vegan.
Legit, and he was legit vegan, but he's doing some new training thing where
you guys have like some kind of like ceremony that you do to kick somebody out when they do something like that.
I mean, he's on a list now for certain.
Oh,
well,
okay.
Speaking of lists, this has nothing to do with lists. Ryan Woldridge in the chat with a football question I want to get to is what are your thoughts on Rodgers is out for the season now? I don't know if you guys follow football. Rodgers
I do.
himself. I'm just bummed out. Like, I mean, frankly, he was on the opponent's fantasy football team, so him not scoring points helped me out, but I don't want to ever see anyone get
Why are you
injured.
bummed out? Did you actually really think that the Jets investing on old ass Aaron Rodgers was a good idea? Keep it real, Jack Farmer. Did you think it was a good idea? Because I hope they got some money back guaranteed, like little thing on their contract with him.
I want the Jets to fail because of failure, not because of
the Jets. No, but the Jets fail every year. Like, this isn't a new thing. Listen, I get it. I'm from New York. I call them the New Jersey Jets. The Jets suck. It's not gonna change no matter who you sign. Sorry, not
Yep.
sorry. Accept the reality of things, guys.
Well, I'm glad that Aaron got a bunch of money in the meantime. Speaking of getting some money, someone who may be looking to sign a contract themselves is Mandy Rose, who teased being a free agent soon. She said that she said something. I'm on the page here and I can't find it. She said, "Will you wrestle again?"
Something.
She said, "Will you wrestle again?" And she said, "Funny you ask. Your girl may or may not be a free agent very soon." Eyeball emoji, eyeball emoji, eyeball emoji, eyeball emoji. Very tough to get that number right because there's 2 eyeballs in each emoji. But Issa, Mandy Rose possibly coming back to pro wrestling, or at least is a free agent. Would you like to see her come back to WWE, or would you like to see her try something different in AEW or Impact or wherever?
I mean, whatever she wants to do, whatever makes her happy. I'm a big fan of Mandy Rose. I would love to see her come back to NXT. I don't think that I hate the way that went down and everything, but whatever makes her happy. It feels like she doesn't need wrestling, so it's fun for her to sit back and see what offers fall into her lap.
Yeah,
Glenn, I don't want to see her in AEW. AEW does not book their women's division the best way. Let's just keep it real.
Well, Glenn, how about you? Would you like to see her back in if she goes to WWE, do you want her to see her continue what she was doing on NXT, or do you think she's main roster bound?
I mean, I could see her getting brought back to the main roster, but if she's still, if she's making more money with her fan support accounts, like the main reason to go back is to generate more awareness and exposure to drive more subscriptions to the platform where she's keeping whatever the cut of the money is, as opposed to working on a contract. So I think it's smart for her to take some strategic bookings or work out some sort of deal. But I mean, I think she kind of proved that, she outsmarted WWE and NXT and made more in the span of a couple months, probably by a factor of 3 or 4 than she ever did in all those years wrestling. So it's tough to imagine her getting excited to come back and go work a house show in Bakersfield,
Is she, Glenn, is she at a point where she could be a part-time, like comes in for the big shows, and is she a big enough name for that? Or do you think she has to be on the road a little bit?
No, I don't even think she has to bump. I think she could just come in. If I were advising her, it's like, look, no pun intended, like exposure is good for you, right? It's good for your core business. So yeah, I think it's got to come down to a dollars and cents decision. She's made a lot of money, and I'm sure she has to weigh, what she's going to commit to, what restrictions they're going to put on her. But she knows what her core business is now, and more power to her. I'm sure any wrestler in WWE would rather earn money from the comfort of their home that way, and that much money, than they would be out taking bumps on the road.
Exactly. So let's talk about some bumps that people took at the CWC. Before we get into the show, as always, thank you everyone for watching. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, copy that link, and throw it into social media while you're here. Let's get the chat going. And if you're in the chat, thanks for being here. Thanks to Corey Pride, Jason. We got Mike Martin. We got MDB999. We got Armando. We got Bernard. We've got Beer. You got it. And everyone else. Also, shout out to the lurkers who are just hanging out and not chatting. I still appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
If you're a lurker, throw it up in the chat and say you're a lurker. Let's chat about
Lurker
this.
Just sounds so seedy. Lurker just sounds
the lurkers.
It's a PG podcast, so I'm gonna cut that short right there. But yeah, let's talk about NXT, Jack. We opened tonight. We knew that Becky and Tiffany were going to be in the main event, but banger of an opening with Wes Lee and Dragunov.
Yeah, I mean, it was a clash of styles, speed versus hard hitting, bruiser, lots of incredible moments. Dragunov needs 3 big moves to put away Wes Lee, but he finally does, and now Dragunov is your number 1 contender. Issa, I want to go to you here. How does Wes Lee bounce back? I mean, obviously, we'll talk a little bit about what he does later on, but like his whole thing has been, I'm the champion. now he's not. How does he come back from this?
I don't know that he does, and that explains what he did later on. I mean, even getting this match, I did think that Wes Lee came off a little bit entitled and whiny, if you want my real opinion, because and I get it, we had to buy the time for No Mercy anyway, so and it was a banger of a match. Like Glenn said, after watching this match, I was like, "Oh my god, how are we going to follow up with this?"
Yeah, this was great opening.
And I was excited to that Becky and Tiffany were gonna be in the main event to give us time to breathe out from this, because this was a great opener. But I didn't think it needed to happen. Like Wes Lee came off a little entitled after he lost the match, asking for another title shot where Dragunov has been putting people out, winning matches. I did think that Dragunov was the right person to go against Melo at No Mercy. But I mean, it gave us a banger of an opener, it gave us a banger of a match, but I did think that it made Wes Lee sound a little entitled, and we'll get into what he did later, but we'll see where he goes. But here, I was 1000% behind Dragunov.
Glenn, did you like the outcome here? Did they get it right?
I think with Wes Lee, this is going to be a very interesting story given his actions later in the episode.
What are your thoughts on Dragunov getting another crack at Carmelo Hayes?
I think it's going to be a great match, but see, this is the thing. It's like, maybe we get a Wes Lee heel turn. Maybe he interferes. Maybe he does something unpredictable. Like, I don't think the trajectory is fully set in stone right now. Like, I think it would be naive to think based on this that it's just going to be Melo versus Dragunov at No Mercy in a clean one-on-one match that ends with a definitive winner.
Kelvin in the chat, the super chat, says Dragunov is the most complete male talent on the NXT roster. I mean, I think Carmelo Hayes might disagree, but yeah, I feel like this is the bigger match, Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes. But NXT, the world title picture is the NXT title picture is very. It feels like it's getting a little repetitive. It feels like it's been the same three guys over and over and over again. And so there's this part of me that's like, kind of wish we were getting something fresh for No Mercy. I know they're going to deliver. I know it's going to be great, but there's a part of me that's like, or again, it's these guys that are involved. So I think it'll be fun, but I'm ready to move on from it personally. Someone who's going to move on, whether he likes it or not, is Von Wagner. He's got a minor skull fracture.
Oh, man.
Timetable yet to be determined. Glenn, how long is Von Wagner going to be out? You think this is going to be a long thing, or is this like he's back next week and this is just a character beat?
I mean, I never want to be the person to be like, oh, it's a work. It's an interesting development given what he's talked about with his personal adversity and whatnot. I just, after the whole Drake Maverick thing, after those cuts, I just don't trust anything anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you could have the most serious thing happen and you're like, oh, you believe it, and then you find out later, like, oh no, this was all for storyline purposes.
But is that not a good thing though? Issa, is this kind of what you want? You want to wonder whether or not what we're seeing is real, blur those lines. Is this one, what are your thoughts on all this? And two, is it possible that we're going to get a different Vaughn when he comes back? Maybe a Kane Vaughn with a mask or something?
I don't know what we're getting. I hope not, but I do.
Like, so, could you imagine? See, if Vince was in charge, given what they did and given there was the steel step spot, he's going to come back and he's going to have a steel plate in his head, but it's going to look like RoboCop. Like, he's going to have he's going to look like from Mortal Kombat. He's legitimately, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be cheesy if this is all part of an angle and they go in that direction. I hope they don't.
Well, I personally thought this was the way to remove Von Wagner from the story right now, while we tell a better story, and we'll get into
remove him from the story to tell a better story.
Yeah, 1000%. That's exactly what we're doing, and then you can bring him back, and whoever wins, whatever feud we're going into, Corbin and Braun, which I love that segment. We'll get into it later. I think you keep Von Wagner off TV and let these two guys, big meaty men, slap some meat in the meantime. I'm not against this at all. I will say, though, it's crazy how I have forgotten about it. So shout out to NXT for starting the show, replaying the murder that went on last week, because they did that, and I was like, and half of my chat, because I do watch along, cheap plug, but everybody was like, oh my God, I forgot about the murder, the cliffhanger that they left us on, last week. So shout out to them for remembering, hey, let me put this right back into your brain, because a week is a long time in wrestling timeline. So I'm excited that they reminded us of what went down. And I think that Braun and Baron is very interesting, and we can bring Von back after that.
Yeah. And I want to say, everyone remember that those quote unquote steel steps are just heavy aluminum.
Those things are so heavy.
They're heavy, but they have some give to them. It's not if it was really dangerous, they wouldn't ever have somebody put their head in that position.
I don't know. The ones I've seen are pretty darn heavy, but we'll see. Kelvin Alexander says they're leaving money on the table. Braun should have worn a "I crushed Von Wagner's skull" t-shirt. You should copy Von Wagner's whole thing and just say, "You got stared. You got stared."
Wow, bye.
I think, come on. But
you got stared.
You got stared.
Now, how about step off?
You got stared at, kid. That's so. Issa alluded to it a second ago. Baron Corbin comes out and says that Von Wagner will never be the same, and he wants to talk to Braun Breakker. And Breakker says that Baron Corbin says it was awesome. They laugh about it, and then Breakker calls Baron Corbin an idiot and says he did it because he loved it. So Baron Corbin says, "What do the five fingers say to the face? Slap!" And they slap each other, and then they get pulled apart by security. Issa, you alluded to this segment earlier. I have a feeling you enjoyed it.
Oh, 1000%. As you know, Jack, I am the first lady of the Big Meaty Man Slapping Meat Committee. I'm here for this. I'm here for this. I thought it was a lot of fun. I liked when Baron was having fun with it, and next thing you know, Braun is not in for it. So then Baron Corbin started flexing on Braun Breakker, the slap, everything. Their back and forward here is something that I will tell people, go back and watch, because I thought it was fun. Like, their back and forward was fun, and I'm looking forward to this match immediately. They sold it to me in one segment.
Yeah, I knew you'd like this because it was also two bad guys being bad guys to each other. And so I
do tend to like bad guys. Don't tell anybody.
You're like a fan of bacon when it comes to bad guys, where you're like, the more the better. I feel like that's how you feel about the more bad guys we have, the better. Glenn, this is one of the rare times where I feel like they had two bad guys acting like bad guys to each other, and it was great, as opposed to going, who do I root for? I was like, this is fantastic.
I think they have good chemistry together, but I'll say again, Braun Breakker has been in NXT for far too long.
I was going to bring this up a little bit later, but I feel like NXT right now also has a lot of people that are just waiting for that call up, and it feels like they're kind of killing time until the call up happens.
Yeah, a lot of fifth-year seniors.
Like, I feel like there's like men alone. It feels like there's 5 or 6 that you could call up tomorrow, and they're good to go, and they're ready to go, and we'll see a few of them later. We'll talk about them. Let's do it. Let's talk about Briggs, Jensen, and Bourne versus Dempsey, Gulak, and Kemp. Fast-paced 6-man tag that gets straight to the point. Henley and Bourne have a quick moment, but Bourne showed he's loyal to his team and helps Dempsey, Gulak, and Kemp get the win. Glenn, what I loved about this is that they knew it was going to be a phony baloney ending, so they didn't drag it out for 3 segments.
Yeah. And I like Miles Bourne. I think this was a good turn for him tonight.
How do you feel about the team of Dempsey, Gulak, and Kemp with Bourne?
I think they're unique, and I think that they could fit sort of a hybrid Diamond Mine, Brawling Brutes sort of vibe.
Yeah. Issa, do you think Bourne made the right decision, stabbing Jensen and Briggs in the back, but leaving Fallon Henley behind?
I don't care.
You don't care about true love and teamwork and
I
loyalty?
don't. No, I don't.
What's up with Fallon's bar?
I care more about that than this. Like, this isn't. I told you, not everything in NXT hits with me, and this is something that I was just like, I really don't care about this, especially after coming off of like a banger that we got with Dragunov and Wes Lee, and then that I thought the segment with Baron and Braun Breaker was awesome. So this kind of felt like a relax for a second kind of segment for me.
Will everyone, this is for the chat and anyone who's in the comments later, will Miles Bourne and Fallon Henley ever find true love? Or was this their last chance? The holidays are around the corner. This could be a Hallmark Christmas movie. Fallon Henley with the small town bar, Miles Bourne with the big city wrestling school that comes in to try to take over the bar, but love stops it. This is a Hallmark movie written all over it. Miles Bourne, Fallon Henley.
Issa, do you remember years ago when we had this energy and effort that Jack Farmer has?
No.
Sorry, Jack.
See, I've been around long enough to know not to leave myself hanging out there.
No, you're just selling it. You're just selling it. It's great.
I just want Hallmark to make this movie. That's what I want.
This is phenomenal. No, I think that, look, they're trying even harder than you are to make this a thing. And the mid card and the lower card exist for a reason. And this was a fine segment, albeit mostly forgettable, in an otherwise, pretty eventful show. And that's tough. There's, it's like SNL. There always has to be the least great sketch of the night. It always has to happen. But you still made it on the air, and that's what's important.
Well, Tornado Anthony Y saying, shout out to Jack.
Damn.
By the way, Roman sucks, Issa. Not even on the same show. But
wow.
It's taking shots. Well,
like the way that Roman Reigns lives rent free on people's head, the fact that you're giving us money to talk about Roman Reigns on a show that has nothing to do with Roman Reigns is real cute, Tornado. Keep it up. Keep giving us your money. Thank you.
That Issa publicly saying Roman Reigns can't afford to pay rent as we move on to Duke Hudson.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk. So this, good for Miles Bourne. I like him getting, I think he's really talented. I like him getting a standout moment. But that had the misfortune of coming before this segment, with Chase U wondering what is going on with Thea Hail. She disabled Find My Friends. So Duke Hudson couldn't see where she was. And where was she? In the cafeteria with JC Jane, hanging out, getting some crap from some guys that think they're better than her. And she beat one of them up and kicked him in the nuts. Oh, and she's going shopping next week. So we're going to get the Thea Hail Bad Girl makeover.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope they make it like a montage like they do on yeah, they have to, right? I'm looking forward to the makeover of Thea Hail.
Yeah, the most incredible word in all of combat sports is makeover. And I can't wait to see it happen. It's a little creepy that Duke Hudson has a tracking device on Thea Hail.
Find My Friends. I've got friends that I've connected with that could see my location and I could see theirs.
They were classmates. They're not friends. They were just people that happened to go to the same school.
I've got a former coworker on Find My Friends. We haven't worked together in 10 years, and I could still see where he is in Pennsylvania.
And you had the audacity to say lurkers sound creepy, Glenn.
I don't know why I just never bothered to remove it.
One person that's my best friend, because if something happens to me, somebody should be aware of that. But I literally only share my location with one person, and that's it.
Yeah. See, I guess sharing your location with certain people, but Thea Hail and Duke Hudson, I mean, they just happen to be in the same class. They didn't even sit together most of the time.
Wow.
In fact, Duke Hudson doesn't even pay attention in school. Do you really want him to be the guy who's tracking your phone? In any case, I'm glad that JC Jane is out here showing Thea Hail a good time, taking her out, celebrating. I love to see that. I think JC Jane has been a very positive influence on Thea Hail.
Yeah. That's what Issa thinks of that.
Wow. I didn't know she wasn't a fan of.
She has very strong feelings about this. No, I thought this was very good. This is a fun storyline. I like that Thea Hail is going to the dark side I think it's a fun character twist, and it's something to change it up with her while we wait for her to get her next NXT championship opportunity. I think it's great when they can come up with a storyline that's going to keep a talent on TV, keep them entertaining, keep them fresh, but at the same time, they can do it without a title. And the question is, they're going to go to the mall for this makeover, I'm sure. Is Hot Topic still in business? Because I got to assume that's stop number one.
I could see JC Jane being a Hot Topic person. I could see her shopping there, but I don't know. I feel like JC Jane's a little more stylish, right? Isn't she more like whatever the newest store is, the one that hasn't opened yet, the one that
the mall still exists?
She knows. Yeah, I guess they're probably going to go shopping on Amazon. That's the try.
Could you imagine a montage of just ordering things on Amazon?
Just them typing on their phone.
Yeah, and then the boxes show up and they're like cutting all the bubble wrap and they're crushing down all the boxes. And then they're trying to find like, oh, this doesn't fit. We have to send it back. So they go to the UPS store, but you can go to Whole Foods and just exchange it. This could be a fun montage for the modern age.
No, see, that's the great thing is they get the outfits and then Thea Hail goes, it doesn't fit. And then JC Jane goes, yes, it does, because JC Jane is a bad girl. So
yes.
I love this. I can't wait to see what happens next.
And she kicked someone in the nuts.
Well, those guys, to be fair, listen, I'm not out here. I'm not like a player. I don't know how to, I'm not someone who knows how to, I'm not a pickup artist, but I don't think they had the best game in the world, Issa, when they approached.
They were negging her.
This was like the worst pickup I've ever seen in my life. They're like, hey, girls, how you doing? Anyways, you're a child.
Yeah, it was not. It was a 0 out of 10. It wasn't cute.
Yeah,
you weren't even born when NSYNC was still together.
Right. You guys don't even understand when I say bye, what I'm referring to. But we did have Dana Brooke take on Lyra Valkyria. Crowd was really passionate about Dana Brooke. But it was Lyra Valkyria who gets the win. Post-match, Dana Brooke almost attacks Lyra, but Kaylani Jordan stops her. Issa, is Dana Brooke becoming a favorite of yours as she tries to attack people from behind?
Not yet, but her gear is. I've been appreciating her gear in NXT. I think she looks incredible. Is she becoming a favorite? No, I don't know that they have still given her that storyline that's gonna like really make me feel invested. I think my takeaway out of this match is like Lyra Valkyrie has to be in the top contenders for the Women's Championship soon. Yeah. That's what I took away from this. After this match, her match with Rhea, like she's been winning. I think she's up there for #1 contender. But it didn't make me look at Dana differently.
Yeah, Lyra Valkyria seems to be racking up a ton of wins here, and she does seem kind of like the next one to push for that spot. Would you like to see that, Glenn? Valkyria take the #1 contender spot?
They've been giving her like a low-key major push. She's not getting the best storylines, but she's gotten some pretty compelling matches. And look, I think, now we get to fantasy book how this is going to play out. How long is Becky going to be in NXT? Is it going to be like Dominic Mysterio, where she's there for a while? Is she going to run through and have a lot of great showcases that elevate female talent? Is someone going to pin Becky Lynch or make her tap out to win that title? Is she going to end up just dropping it, undefeated? Like, this is very exciting for the women's division. And I think Lyra is really poised to capitalize on this.
I'm a big fan of Lyra Valkyria. Been a fan of hers for a while. We got an announcement that the women's breakout tournament is going to be making a return. Roxanne Perez tries to pep talk some of the competitors, but Lola Vice says she's going to win it all. Issa, are you glad to see the women's breakout tournament back?
Yes, 1000%. And I'm excited to see Lola Vice in the mix of things. I love her and the Elektra team. Obviously, I'm very biased here. Latina do it better. So I'm 1000% here for this team. And don't leave Roxanne Perez out of the Latina do it better equation, right? So I need that match in my life.
Yeah, I like that team, Elektra and Lola Vice. I'll be honest, when they first came together, I was like, this is one of those random two people thrown together, but they very quickly feel like a team that would actually hang out and be together, which is, I think, very important. And so Lola Vice, I think, is going to have a pretty good career. We'll see how she does against Roxanne Perez. Not going to bet on her to win that one, but I think in the long term, she'll have a very good career.
We have to talk about this next segment that happened.
Are we talking about Eddie Thorpe and Dijak?
Dijak. Eddie Thorpe's interview was fine. But
Dijak was it.
Dijak, sorry, I didn't cut you off, Jack.
Yeah, no, go for it. Talk to me about Dijak.
Eddie Thorpe was giving a sincere promo talking about his feelings and frustrations. And then we cut to Dijak, who's out there, is like, Eddie Thorpe, I'm going to mark your territory. And then I'm like, oh, shit, is he going to like piss on like his like sacred land or something? And no, he takes out a strap and then just starts whipping a tree furiously.
Issa, was I the only one saying to myself, whoop that tree when he was doing that?
You were not. You were not, because that's what everybody in my chat was saying.
So ridiculous.
Tonight we saw a lot of trees, like hashtag justice for trees, because we saw some kind of weird touching of the trees with the schism.
Yeah,
like it was. I feel bad for trees after tonight NXT.
Why does it sound dirty when you say it like that?
Why don't we ever go to a forest and meaningfully touch a tree the way Ava Raine and Joe Gacy did tonight?
When I come to Vegas on our visit that we've been discussing, if we don't get our tree on, Glenn, it's like I didn't come.
That's it. Yeah, I don't know why. I was like, my first thought honestly was like, that poor tree. It's just like that's mean. The tree's just growing, creating oxygen. Weird. Maybe a home for a nest of little birds. A squirrel might live in it. Maybe a Keebler elf, and he just hits it for nothing.
Shout out to the people that were into it too. Like, we're not gonna kink shame. Just
if you enjoy watching a man whip a trunk, you know.
Is that what we're calling it these days?
Hey, Dijak.
Next week, Dijak is like, hey, this is what I'm going to do to you in the ring, Eddie Thorpe. And then you see him literally spanking a monkey.
I will say, it was a little uncomfortable when he first started. He's like taking the belts off. I was like, whoa. Where is this going?
Especially because he said, I'm going to mark my territory. And I see a belt and I'm like, what is happening?
I was thinking to myself as he's taking the belt off, I was like, please, someone who doesn't watch wrestling, don't walk in. Please, someone who doesn't watch wrestling, don't walk in. At this moment, because that's always when someone shows up, like, hey, what are you watching? Huh? What are you watching? No, it's wrestling. Oh, it's that wrestling stuff, huh?
And then on the TV, it's just Dijak whipping the tree. Like, oh my God, I actually love that.
And then they'll leave, and then like Dragunov and Wes Lee happens, and then they come back, and it's back to Dijak whipping trees and taking his pants off. You're like, no,
it's on to you walk in, and like Dijak, they walk in, Dijak is beating the tree. They leave, we get a banger, they come back, and Schism is molesting the tree. Like, they're like, Jack, what are you really watching here?
Like,
was it the same tree? That's the question.
Like, Jack, I knew you were from the Northwest, but geez, didn't know you felt this way about trees. Come on. So let's get back to something a little more PG here. Tyler Bate and Axiom have a match for the Heritage Cup. Well, not for the Heritage Cup, but part of the Heritage Cup. I never remember what it's called. The tournament, the Invitational, that's what it's called. Really fun second half to this one with lots of reversals. Tyler Bate gets the win and now moves on to second place in his bracket, but Butch is ready to cut a promo and say that he's going to win their match next time around. Issa, has this tournament grown on you like a tree?
No. Man, I wanted not to care about this, but they really turned it around. Shout out to some of my viewers that are in the chat. We ended up calling it Power Ranger versus Squad Man. That's what we officially named this match. But it picked up. At the end of it, I was 100% invested and into it.
It's a good match.
Butch and Tyler Bate do have history, so I'll be lying if I tell you I'm not looking forward to their matchup.
Yeah, Glenn, as Issa said, she is the you're the first lady of Meaty Men, right?
Big meaty men slapping me committee.
Cool. I am the
Does that
first lady
committee
of the
sit in a
Thigh Guys.
circle? Sorry.
We do with a tree in the middle, Glenn.
The Thigh Guys, yes.
Yeah, so I am the first lady of the Thigh Guys, Glenn, and Tyler Bate is the certified king of the Thigh Guys. Which gentleman has your favorite thighs in pro wrestling, Glenn? And you can't pick Tyler Bate. He's mine.
Can I
tough. Go? I'm trying to think of like who. Yeah, you said.
I want to give you some ideas, but I'd rather you have to think about all the guys with thighs.
Me, I'll go next since Glenn can just like I don't understand how Glenn doesn't just blur out Randy Orton, whose legs could choke a bear. Like I fantasize about Randy Orton choking a full-grown bear with his legs. Like after Tyler Bate is 100% Randy Orton, or your answer is wrong.
Yeah. Randy Orton actually is one of the top thigh guys in the industry. Not only
when Kofi was
clean too.
Remember when nice Kofi was entering the elimination chamber and he told Randy, "Nice quads, man." Like that is one of my favorite clips of all time.
I mean, there's Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre's got some
muscular. Yes.
Yeah. So glad.
So, I'm trying to think. Like I'm trying to think of like wrestlers that wear trunks.
Yeah, because here's a rule for the thigh guys.
Yeah, you got to wear trunks.
You can't cover any of the thighs. I see Big E in the chat. Big E covers half of them. Doesn't count. Sorry.
Oh, it's true. Big E does have some nice muscular thighs, though.
Yeah, but I can't give it to
they
Bobby.
Drew McIntyre muscular though.
Yeah, Bobby.
That's true.
Sorry, I can't count you. You cover your thigh. I can only count you if you.
I mean, does Brock count? Brock wears shorts.
Brock doesn't count.
Because Brock has big everything else. That sounded wrong.
Transition time.
Oh, Gunther's good, yeah. Sheamus.
Gunther is good. Thanks for getting me out of that.
Sheamus is good too. Okay, we'll move on to something else here. We got a couple of different segments. I'm just going to go through these quick backstage segments, and then we'll talk about all of them together. But first, Carmelo Hayes and Dom Mysterio run into each other, and Dom Mysterio throws some of the words that Carmelo has said in the past right back in his face. Schism, we've alluded to already, is gently caressing some trees. Trick Williams says he feels what Schism's going through, but he's still friends with Carmelo as Wes Lee cleans out his locker and leaves, and Gigi Dolan viciously attacks Blair Davenport in the back. Issa, tell me, pick whatever you want out of these segments and feel chatty about it if you want.
Dominic Mysterio forever. Yeah. I thought that Dom has some facts to point out to Melo. I get that Melo is the NXT World Champ, but he really hyped up the North American Championship when he had it. Dominic brought that up, right? The North American Championship was the A title. Like, why are you backing out now? I'm actually excited for X-Con Don and him next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Glenn?
Wes Lee taking his nameplate and going home.
What was in the background of that? Like, I'm trying to look. I'm trying to look at Trick Williams here.
Well, you know what was amazing about the Wes Lee thing? He did it in this slow pantomime fashion. Like he was like, "Okay, I'm leaving now." Nobody
cares.
Me.
We're trying to watch Melo and Trick reunite, bro.
Yeah, he's in slow motion, waiting for someone to be like, "Wes, what are you doing?" And nobody asks.
Listen, I live close to Los Angeles, so I know how it works. When you see a camera and it's got the red light on, you got to find a way to kind of get in front of it. So you'll act like you have a reason to walk by or get near it. You know, like that's all Wes Lee was doing. He wanted to get on TV. I don't blame him. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Now, was I the only one who walked away from this thinking Trick Williams and Wes Lee are going to be a tag team?
That could be interesting.
Yes, you were the only one who walked away thinking that, Jack.
Then when it happens, I will lord over my fantasy booking over everybody.
Yes.
Drake is a solo star. Look at him.
Man, there were a lot of matches. I don't like how. Oh, man, there was a lot of matches tonight. I forgot that after this, I rewound to watch the Wes Lee thing to make sure. I was paying attention to what was going on in the foreground, and I was like, oh, wait a second. So I went back and rewatched it. And then I caught this tag match, Creed Brothers versus Inoue and Blade, which was really good.
Yeah, we had a bunch of good stuff. I do want to, before we get into that, we have some super chats I want to get to. Tornado Anthony Y says, AEW coming to Wichita. The Tornado is elite. So hold up a sign that says my name on it, so I know it's you. But Will Chisholm, I hope I'm saying that right, says, Issa, why you hate Wes Lee?
Clearly new here, Will. I know you watch my channel. I see you in my watch-alongs all the time, but you're clearly new here because I have talked very positive about Wes Lee for a while, but I'm also not going to lie and not keep it real. He sounded entitled. He lost his match against Melo. His time is not right now. He needs to get to the back of the line. Sorry, not sorry.
His time is up. And that's it.
No, please don't do it, Jack.
Yes. So Bear Hudson has a question. And Jack, now that Alfred has moved on to greener pastures, you are going to be our designated relationship advice person. So please read Bear Hudson's super chat and give him some advice.
Answer it.
Bear Hudson says, I have been having dreams about my best friend's fiance for the past few days and even shared a moment with her. Should I say something to her? Well, what was the moment? That's the big key here. But you know what I say? I say just go for it. See if maybe all three of you can get involved. Why be
What the hell, Jack?
You know? I mean,
you little freak.
He just out Alfreded Alfred.
Like that's I mean, look, I mean, your best friend, clearly you guys are cool, you know, and then the fiance, something there. I mean, what's the worst that could happen if you pitch this idea? Go for it. You'll have a blast. And report back with how it goes. Tornado Anthony Y says, Jack, I'll wave to you in the camera. Thank you. I'll wave back. Kelvin Alexander wants to know, none of these posers hold a candle to Doug Furnace. He's the thigh quad king of all time. I don't know who Doug Furnace is. Am I exposing ignorance to something? Do you guys know who Doug Furnace is? Are you guys Googling Doug Furnace to make me look stupid? As he's like a power.
I'm literally looking it up as we speak.
Yeah, so APF national and world powerlifting champion.
Oh, he does have nice quads. Damn. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. But he's not in the same category. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to be a wrestler though.
You have to be an active wrestler, or like at least within the last few years.
Yeah. Kelvin also says Lola Vice is the heavy favorite to win the breakout tournament, calling it now. That seems like the favorite. Breakout tournaments a lot of times have surprise winners, though.
Yes.
So we'll see. We'll have to see. But Glenn, you had alluded to the Creed brothers and Idris Inoue versus Malik Blade. Creed brothers versus Idris. Yeah, I think I said it wrong. Anyways, you guys get what I mean. All the other teams watch on as Idris and Malik have a good showing, but it's the Creed brothers, and they get a strong win, as a lot of people expected. Glenn, what are your thoughts on Idris and Malik? And are the Creed brothers one of the people that feel like just call them up already?
Yeah, the Creed brothers, they got to do something with this thing with them leaving and coming back. I mean, I think Inoue and Blade looked good in this match, but still they need a little more of a push. But let's not overlook that Angel and Humberto making faces in the crowd. It's not a full moon tonight, so they're in their human form.
Locos.
Yes. Hanging out in the crowd and just waiting to transform and then tear apart the NXT tag division.
Issa, if they come out dressed as wolves, will they be your new favorite tag team? Los Lotharios?
No, they will never.
What if they actually become werewolves?
They wouldn't.
But if they did?
Like Teen Wolf style?
Be my favorites. Like, what do you want me to say? I was always Team Edward, Jack.
Look, Glenn, you say Teen Wolf. I don't want to get you down a rabbit hole of the 80s because I know that can be a dangerous pit to fall in, but he wasn't a wolf. He was like some weird creature. He didn't look like a dog at all.
He turned into a full-blown wolf. So did his father. And then in Teen Wolf 2, Jason Bateman turned into wolf.
He had no snout. It was like flat. He was just a weird, hairy creature. He was not a wolf.
Because they still and then that girl was like into him in the wolf form, which still as a child blew my mind, and as an adult I still have a lot of questions about. Perhaps I don't want to know the answer to them. But yeah, I mean, Teen Wolf, solid film.
I will say I was more interested in seeing the story of the dad as a wolf than I was in the Teen Wolf. That was the best part of the movie. But let's talk about what I think most people will say is easily the most important part of NXT this week, and that is Akira Tozawa is ready. He came out and he had a match with Nathan Frazier, and the world shook as we watched in awe of Akira Tozawa. But unfortunately, he fell short and didn't get the win. It looks like it's going to be Joe Coffey versus Duke Hudson. And if Duke Hudson wins, it's a 3-way tie. Joe Coffey wins. He gets he wins the whole thing. Glenn, what are your thoughts on the Heritage Cup Invitational?
Well, I think much like Bear Hudson's situation, this is looking like it's going to be a likely 3-way for the Heritage Cup.
That's a callback.
In that scenario, doesn't everybody win?
Well, sometimes in a 3-way, someone's left out in the cold, but we'll have to find out this place. Issa, before we get canceled, any thoughts on this match? Oh, you're on mute.
Still on mute.
Still on mute.
No, her mic's not. Something died. We'll figure it out.
Well,
we'll figure it out. But no, I think it was nice to see Akira Tozawa. Nathan Frazier, though, and Joe Coffey and Duke Hudson. It's exciting. The Heritage Cup is still going on way too long, in my opinion. These matches, these rules are complicated, but I like the metaphor lounge. That tonight was pretty sweet to see.
Was there an inside joke with the elephant, or was that just being random?
I think it was just random.
Like, I was thinking maybe there's like the elephant in the room, and I was like,
yeah. But no M. Dar's the elephant. Yet no M. Dar's the elephant in the room.
Maybe that's what it is, but I couldn't really place it, so I just assumed it was Noam Dar being a funny fella. Mustafa Ali and Dragon Lee are at odds because of what happened last week, and Ali says, next time you get a title shot. Glenn, it feels like in NXT there's a whole lot of, if I win, I'll give you a title shot going around, and this is just another one of those.
NXT, it's unfortunate, right? Because there's not enough room for everybody to graduate. But we're starting to get to this point where, got to change things up a little bit. There's a lot of same, especially in the men's division.
I would. Yeah, I don't know. There's not really another way to say it. There's just a lot of people I think need to graduate and move on and move on because I think they're ready. But Tornado Anthony Y says, Jack, I still say you would be a great backstage interviewer or commentator in AEW. Just saying you have talent. Well, thank you, Tornado. That's the goal. Someday I would love to be on network television working for a wrestling company. So hopefully that comes true, and I appreciate the support and the kind words. Let's get to the main event.
Wait, but Jack, imagine that life for a second. You drive, you fly, you do all that travel, you get there, and you stand backstage and you get to be like, Duke Hudson. Earlier, we saw Schism touching a tree in the forest. Do you have any reaction to this? And then you just nod.
You're saying I'd get paid to touch trees?
but you get to ask like one question.
That sounds like a pretty sweet gig.
Sure, that does sound pretty good. What you say about like, well, let me get this straight. You're gonna pay me, you're gonna fly me, and I like to say one thing, and I just get to stand there and look concerned, and you get to say, my guest at this time, and then back to you. I'm pretty tall. I have to do it with my legs spread, though. That's the rub.
As we move on to the main event, this is what I think a lot of people tuned in for.
Everybody's talking about
Becky Lynch. First off, she's cutting promos backstage. She's talking to Lyra Valkyria backstage. She's cutting it up with Kiana James backstage. Then she gets to the match, and Tiffany Stratton, world's greatest swanton bomb ever. I will stand by that till I die. Becky using the crowd to help protect her from getting tabled. And after a missed moonsault, Becky Lynch gets the win, and she is your new NXT champion. Issa NYC Demon Diva. Are you glad Becky Lynch is the NXT champion?
Yes, 1000%. I apologize for my audio. I am relying on my AirPods at this point, but yes, 1000%. I didn't want to leave the podcast without talking about this. So happy about this. I thought Becky Lynch should have been NXT Women's Champion back in her time with NXT, and to see her come back and get this done. And the best part about this is that you're happy about the result. The crowd was so into it, which made it feel, as soon as Becky came out, the signs, like you felt like it was a big deal. There was a big time Beck was in the building, and the crowd really made it feel that way. But the best part about this is everybody wins. Tiffany Stratton looked like $1 million tonight in defeat. Best match we've seen from her, losing a match to Becky Lynch after that incredible performance she had at that steel cage match against Trish Stratus. Tiffany Stratton looks like $1 million, losing the match to the man. The man being the NXT Women's Champion, I think, is incredible. I think Becky Lynch, like, I don't have an issue with Becky always having a championship, but I don't have a problem with Io Sky and Rhea Ripley being the World Women's Champion on the main roster. So why not? I feel like this moved so many ships in the chess like board. Like, I am so happy about it. I thought both women looked incredible. There's something about Becky Lynch lately. We saw that insane match she had with Zoe Starks on Monday Night Raw, the main event. Then she went on to have that steel cage match. Then she came and did this. Like, she's wrestling with a purpose, and I'm here for this new, like, Becky Lynch is here to stay. And again, some of us that have been fans of NXT for a long time always wanted Becky to have this. So shout out to Grand Slam Bex. Nobody can take this away from the man. And shout out to Tiffany, who looked absolutely incredible tonight. This was a win-win situation for everybody, and I can just talk about it forever. 10 out of 10. We give high heels in my channel. This gets 10 high heels in my channel. Love that. Here for it. Shout out to the man.
A lot of walking happening in those heels. Glenn, the Becky Lynch is the champ. I want to know your thoughts on this. Also, I'd like you're in Vegas. What are the odds that Becky Lynch is going to be the champion after No Mercy?
It feels weird. See, this is going to be about Dominic Mysterio. We thought Dominic was going to be there for 2 or 3 weeks, drop it, and go back to the main roster. I don't know. They're coming up for rights renegotiation soon under TKO. Mm-hmm. They want to increase the value of NXT as much as possible. Becky Lynch is quite graciously ceding the spotlight to a younger generation of talent on the main roster. I think that in this stage of her career, this is a very magnanimous way for her to give back to the business, reinvigorates her a little bit. I think that she's been putting on great matches, but I feel like her career trajectory on the main roster, because she shared the spotlight so much, it hasn't been as hot as it has been in the past. So I think this is just a win for everybody right now. I mean, she's still in this household. She's still our favorite wrestler. So we're very excited about her being in NXT.
I am famously bad at remembering different statistics and things like that. And so when Tiffany Stratton first said her name as an NXT champion, I didn't bat an eye. I was like, oh, okay. And then it was like, when you found out she was, I was like, oh wait, she wasn't, was she? No. That is kind of crazy that she never won the title. So I think from an accolade standpoint and a completionist standpoint, and especially where she is in history standpoint, it's cool that she gets to add that accolade to her resume. I'm a Tiffany Stratton fan, so I would be honest, I was a little bummed out my pick lost.
What's with her generic entrance music? When did that happen? I remember she had that great
when she came back. Remember when she came back, the New Year's vignettes that they were doing. Once she came back from that, that's when they
her original theme was so good.
It was better than this. I liked it. Tonight they turned the lights off, and you didn't get the lights that you get. Like, they used to do the camera sound effect with the flash. Mm-hmm. We didn't get that tonight, which I thought was odd.
Kelvin Alexander in the chat saying Tiffany lost but was fantastic in defeat. Looking forward to her evolution as a performer and character. To Issa's point earlier, I feel like Tiffany Stratton came out of this looking like she could 100% hang with anyone on the top roster. She didn't look like it was a developmental talent against a top star in the company. It looked like 2 top stars having a match. And I think that's probably the best thing you could ask for. And that's probably the best thing that Becky Lynch could do, is prove that someone can be in a main event for the title and look like they belong. And so
this was her best match. Hands down.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not the biggest Becky Lynch fan, but I do say whenever it comes time for her to have a big match, she always delivers. And so I think she delivered here. I think that it came off great. I'm very interested to see what happens with that title. Have a feeling it might end up going to Lyra Valkyria at the end of the day, but we'll see how it plays out. I got a feeling she's going to be there longer than No Mercy, because I have a feeling that, like you said, they're going to want to show the ratings are good on NXT right after this merger. And I think that it's good for Becky because she's in that kind of a Charlotte Flair position where she's not in the world titles picture. What is she doing? And she can't really be in the world title picture right now. So what do you do with her? So I think this is a good move for her. I will say, though, the timing's weird. I said this on Monday, but she just beat Trish Stratus. She should be going for like the or the Raw title. I mean, she just beat the GOAT. Shouldn't she be moving on to
let somebody else have a chance? You know, this is good for her, Jack. Like I was thinking about this tonight. She hasn't wrestled in front of a crowd this small now in over 7 years since she did her last house show loop, which coincided with her main roster call up in 2016. You know, or no, 2015. Pardon me. So 8 years. Yeah, because it was at the end of 2015. So it has been a while, man. It's amazing. I mean, I wish I could have been in that crowd tonight to see her in such a small venue putting on a performance like that. I mean, she is a huge star.
Glenn, I don't want to embarrass you, but 2015 was 3 years ago. So, you know,
feels more like 30.
Don't mean to make fun of Don't mean to
2020 counts as 5 years, like if I'm not mistaken. I think, legally, like do the research. It's been scientifically proven that you can count 2020 as 5 years.
Every year either feels like it was last year or 100 years ago. There's no in between. But that does it for the show. That covers everything that happened. Before we go, everyone in the chat, let me know your overall thoughts of this episode of NXT. As we go around the horn, Glenn, what were your final thoughts and where can the world find you online?
You can find me online at Glenn Rubenstein on Twitter. Please check out Gigantic Pop, the new podcast I'm doing with Matt Morgan and Raj Giri, the three of us, the original Wrestling Inc. podcast crew. Well, the original My Generation reuniting for a pop culture podcast. We're on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Second episode's out about the Goonies and Cyndi Lauper and WWF in the 1980s. Great listen. But on NXT tonight, I think women's division was on fire before, even more so now with Becky back. I want that shirt that guy in the audience had. I think Becky pointed and Pop for the one that said, what was it? Ashley, Mercedes, Rebecca, and Pam. Like, that was dope. Want that shirt. No, I'm so over the moon about Becky as women's champ. Want to know what Schism's doing with touching that tree. Want to know because Wesley is still making his way out very slowly, rolling his wheel suitcase, waiting for someone to ask him what he's doing and being like, please don't go. I just think NXT still most entertaining watch in all professional wrestling.
Wes Lee was going outside looking to go get himself some tree. But Issa, what were your overall thoughts of the show and where can the world find you online?
Well, I enjoyed tonight's show. There were some things that I really couldn't get into, but there was a lot of advancement in some of the storylines. I'm here for Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. I'm here for Becky. I don't think Becky winning the title felt predictable. I personally thought they were going to have some weird shenanigans ending and we were going to take it to No Mercy. That's really how I thought tonight was going to be. I was actually shocked that we had a clean win on the main event. And shout out to NXT for also doing the continuation I brought in the beginning of the episode, because I really have forgotten all about the ending of last week's NXT, and they brought it back up. I thought it was a fun episode. There were some things that I could have done without, and shout out to all threes. I hope they're all okay. And yeah, you guys can find me on NYC Demon Diva on all social medias, especially here on YouTube. I do watch along for all of your favorite AEW, WWE shows. So if you want best bro at the bar kind of a vibe, come watch my watch.
Oh.
Well,
that's what I am apparently. So
everyone go check out the watch alongs, go check out Gigantic Pop. and both great. The watch log's fun. The show's fun. All good stuff there. Check those out. I want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat today. Mike Martin, Baby Ice. We got Christopher Stykeleather. We got Tornado Anthony Y saying Judgment Day runs Raw. JD
Damn.
over Bloodline.
Was Tornado on your show last night?
On mine?
Yeah, like your Monday Night Raw review. Was he here?
I'm going to say yes to win the argument.
Okay, because he needs to be donating the super chats to that show. Like, let's talk about NXT, bro. That's what we're here to do. But we love Judgment Day.
We got MDB 999, Papita Junior 3, Killer Demon 669, Low Vision Technology LVT. Thanks for coming through and for the kind words as well, Jason, and everybody else. Stephen Camp, Beer, also Beer Money, Ricky Zaldivar. Appreciate you all. You can follow me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. The next big thing I'm doing is I'm doing commentary for Prestige Wrestling on the 24th, so you can check that out on IWTV. Unless you're in Los Angeles, then come to the Globe Theater and check it out. It's going to be a good time. Until then, follow at Wrestling Inc. for all the latest wrestling news, and I will see you guys on the AEW After Show. Now, time to go get some tree.